Hello everyone. I hope all of you are doing great. And today I'm gonna go over week 5 lab. Yeah, this is the lab. It's not difficult, but at the same time, it's not easy. And therefore, please start as soon as possible. I have highlighted some key points here, but you should read that very, very carefully because this actually gonna takes a lot of things that you need to stay focused while you are doing this. Because if it's your first time doing sessions management, yes, I think you would not find that difficult, but it's a little bit challenging. Now, let me show you what do we mean by all of this that we have it here. Let me just show you part of this. Like this is week 5 lab. Okay, let me just do this, run this as a demo. Now here, actually, this application gonna just work with these data. For example, a password, say login. Now we got this, welcome Abe. And now if I say log out, I have been logged out and they say you have successfully logged out. Now, if I try to enter again to the home page that I was there, say home, they actually refuse to take me home because I say logged out. Now, let me close this and let's go like a very quick tour over what do we have here. Now, you will need actually two servlets, one called login servlets and home servlets. However, nowadays, if you look, now we have three packages, not one or two packages. Now we increase the number of packages. I will start with this one, which is web information. Remember, this actually represents the view, like model, control, and the viewer. Now, the view actually I have login.jsp. This is login.jsp, which is very simple. It's just login. Like you can actually format it as you want. I just have a form. This form has an action login, and the method is going to be post. Now, if you say, okay, login is going to go where? It's going to go to web.xml. Say, okay, where is login? This is login. Now, the name of it is login servlets. Who's having the same name here? Okay, this is login servlets. That means login servlets. That means, in other words, the login page. If I go to servlets, if I go to login, I will see that, okay, I have do get and I have do post. And the form actually will send the data, which is the username and the password to this page to do post. Okay. Now on the do post, I will do very, very easy thing, which is going to be like just reading the username and a password and make sure that you have the username and password correct. However, the do post actually will make a use of something called account service. Now, this is the new package that we have. This actually, it's just a login method that would return a user, which is user here is a Java bean. And this is a Java bean, just has a username and a password. And this is actually going to return either user, like it's either going to return user object, or null if it is not correct. Like let's say that you entered incorrect username or incorrect passwords. Therefore, the username and password, like it's either going to be returning null or return a user object. Also, remember this is going to be called from doPost method. Now, here in details, you will see that what you need to do in steps. For example, this is for login servlets, and you can see the description for doPost. I highlighted these things might help in reading. Like first, you need to validate that they are not empty. And if you check my code here, if I just run this, and let's say that I entered nothing here, they say like, oh, you have invalid username or password. Let's say that I just enter A and then say login. They still say, oh, still you need to add the password. Let's say I entered password, a random password, say, okay, the username or password incorrect or is incorrect. Okay. Yeah, that means I need to just fix this and somehow, like I need to get like a correct username and a correct password. This is one of the things that doPost will do, like check if it's empty or not. And then, as I said, after we check if it's not empty, then we want to make a use of account service. Remember, account service is this method here, the login method here, that will actually either return a user if it's correct and null if it's not correct. Yeah, store the username in a session. And yeah, if let's say that the data, like this account service return user, that means you have entered the correct username and a correct password. For example, here, if we go here and say Abe, and then I say password, and just say login. Now, what we will do actually before we go to the home page, we will do this thing. We'll store the username in a session, variable, and redirect, not forward. You should use redirect. And if you don't know how to do redirect, remember that to do redirect, you should say response, and then you should say send redirect. We are not going to forward, we are going to do redirect. And here we are not going to specify the page name, no page name, like not the no JSP name, okay? What you need to specify here is just the name of the URL, like who is going to take me to the home. If we need to check that in web.xml, you will see that home, this is the URL, and this actually will open the home page or home.jsp page for me. And now that means here I should say response.send redirect, and then say, like in string, say home. Like I'm just giving you the path where you should send your next request to, and it's going to be home. Okay, this is how we redirect. Okay, remember that we need to set the session. Now, how do we set the session? It's very easy. Like just imagine the session here. You're going to say, for example, username, and then here you will have the username going to be Abe. Like if this is the correct data, the correct credentials, then this is how we actually set the username. And yeah, remember that login servlet is going to have a URL pattern as a login. Now the home servlet is going to be a very simple page. If you go back here, you will see that I have a welcome, then the username, which is Abe, and then I have a link here. If I press on this actually logged me out. And if I just try to go to login again, it doesn't work. Home page, it doesn't work because I logged out. Now logout, it has a hyperlink called logout, which makes a request to take the user back to the URL login and displays the message you have successfully logged out. Okay, this is how actually the structure of the JSP page of home.jsp. Okay, this is account service. They are saying it's a very simple class because as you can see here, if I show you this, like, yeah, it just has a one method and that's all. It has it's going to return a user if it's valid, and this is the description. If you like, you should read it. There are two user names. Okay, now I'm using Abe, but I could use Barb as well. Like if you want to test that, we could say here Barb. Those only two users who are like considered as a good users. And now, as you can see, now I logged in as Barb. If logged out and say Abe, and then I say password, and now I logged in as Abe. Those are the only two users who are okay to log in. That means if I go here, like in the login, actually I'm hard coding these values. Like I'm hard coding these values. I'm not using files or databases. Now these are most like I think they are very important here. For example, the welcome page should be set to home. That means if we open web.xml, okay, and web.xml, let's go to welcome file list, and here we go. Now the first page should be home, but now if I click on the green button, you see that I get the login. What's really happening here? What happens is if we continue reading, they are saying, okay, if an unauthenticated user returned to our website, we want to give him the home page, not the login page. Okay, they are using it like if this a user is authenticated. But what if, like right now, when we click on the green button, let me just close this again. Let's run the project. As you can see, now I should see the home page, but any website in the world, if you are trying to access the home page and you don't logged in, what will happen here? They will ask you to log in. That means actually what we are doing here is the following. We are trying to go to home page, like okay, like we are pressing the green button. Okay, this green button is sending a request to do get on the home servlet. Now here is the, like, I don't want to say the tricky part, but this is the thing that you should check. You need to check if we have authenticated, like, do we have a valid user or invalid user? Valid or invalid. Now, the valid user, or invalid user, like if it's invalid, let's say this is invalid. If he was invalid user, what should I do? I should say response.send redirect, but this time I'm not redirect you to the home. I'm going to redirect you to the login page, yeah? Okay, now, if you want to see this, how it works, like how can I see that this user is valid or invalid? Remember that we could do this thing here. We can get the session first. This is the first thing. And then I will check. I will say, okay, session.get attribute. Do you have anything called username? And now if you look at the table, we don't have anything called username. That means this value, what would be? This value, it will be null. Okay, this value, it would return null. And because it's null, that means it's invalid. Like invalid means it's going to be null. And if it's null, I say, okay, I'm not going to show you the home page. Please go and log in. I remember that in the login, we say that here on the do post. we say that here in the do post, that if you have a successfully logged in, I will store the username in a session. Like that means if I just entered here, if I say Abe and I say password, okay, say password, what will happen if I click login and those actually are good credentials? What we will do actually in the do post, we will go to the session and set attribute for the session, and we will say what? We will say username, and then here I will say what is the username. Now, if I say login, see, now I am in the home page. Now, let's say that I just open a new tab. I just take this. Okay, I take this. Let's close it. Now, I just went to the same URL and they actually welcomed me. What happened here? What happened is very easy. In the home servlet, we like before we didn't have any data, but right now what do we have? We have username and we have here Abe. When we read the session username in the home page, the check value is not null. The check value right now is Abe. And before it's Abe, because it's Abe, therefore I show you the home page. I say, okay, you are welcome. Now, if you want to log out, what you should do actually, very simple. Just like we need to invalidate the session, which means in other words, like I'm going to do something like that. Like invalidate the session. And I can like actually, yes, I can invalidate it. And then I say like get request, get session again, like something like an empty session. Yes, we could do that. But at the end of the day, this is how we log out. Like if I click on the logout button, again, go to password. Did I give password? Okay. Okay, I password. And here we go. Now, if I say log out, see, I'm sending the request. If you look on the corner on the left, I'm sending the request to the login page, which means that we are targeting the doGet method here in the login servlets. We are targeting this method. And I'm sending one parameter. If you look here, I'm sending one parameter called logout. That means if you see the logout, that means, okay, you need to remove the session. You need to invalidate the session and then take me back to this. And don't forget to add this message that you have successfully logged in. Now let's close it. And I want to show you that how you can test your code if it works or not, because this is how I'm going to test your submissions. I'm going to do these 7 steps each time just to make sure that you have a valid, like 100% working lab. The first thing, they are saying attempt login with incorrect credentials, for example, this app and password, and we should see like failed authentication. Okay, let's see that. Let's try to run the program and let's try to give them invalid data. Like this is Abe and this is password, but I have incorrect password. They are saying, okay, your username or password is incorrect. So let's see the second test, which is log out. Log in with the correct credentials. For example, I could say Abe and I could say here password. Say login. Now I'm here. And after that, then I click logout link. The result should be login page displayed. Like if I just say here logout. Now, as you can see, I go back to the same page, to the login page. And remember that I have removed that session from or invalidated that session. Now here, they are saying login redirection. Login with correct credentials, then change the URL to login. Okay, that means here, go to Abe, then go to password, and then say login. Oh, okay, password. Now we are here. Now what they are asking us to do, to change the URL to login, like instead of home, say login. Now, as you can see, the login page redirect me to the home. They say, yo, like you have a valid session. Why are you coming to us? You should go to the home page. Okay. And we passed number 3. Now, what about number 4? Logged out redirection, start from the login screen, then change the URL to home. Okay. Web page URL change to login and login page is displayed. Yeah. Now let's log out. I could actually even like rerun this again just to make sure that everything. Okay, now here I am here. Let's say that I say home. Remember that home page will check, okay, you have invalid session, therefore go back to the login page. And we passed this test as well. Okay, now let's say number 5. Here we are saying session created upon login. Login with correct credentials, then open a new tab and enter the URL home, and home page is displayed. Now let's go here, say Abe, say password, and now here we go. Now let's take this link. Let's take this link and open a new tab. Okay, I'm gonna close this here and say this. If I run that, they still remember me because the browser still make use of the session that we have it here. By the way, this is the session. Remember that we have the session here in the application. Okay. Okay, if I open a new page, say same thing. If I just go to inspect and go to application, you will see that they are still using the same session. This is 654E2. It's going to be the same, yeah? Now, let's see, what do we need to do here? Okay, now number 6, let's see, session destroyed upon logout. Log in with the correct credentials, then log out, then open a new tab and enter this to see that. Okay, now they are saying, okay, let's say try to log out and let's go back to the login page. I'm going to say ape and then I say password. And here we go. Now this is welcome ape. Now I'm going to log out. And after that, I will try to go to home page. Okay, let me just get this URL. And I will say home and say enter. Okay, they refuse that. Why? Because when I say logged out, the session should be removed or invalidated. Now, default page is home. Log in with the credentials, then change the URL to this home, this is like the welcome page, and home page is displayed. Yeah, let's give it a try here. Let's say A and password. And now we are here. Now they are saying, okay, can you remove just the word home like this and just say enter? And here we go. We are still on the same page, like the welcome page is now the home page. Now, if I logged out and I go to the home page, you see, the home page is redirected me. Like, okay, this is like, again, like this is my welcome page, which is home. There's no problem, but the problem is that your session is invalid, and therefore I'm redirecting you to this page. And please pay attention when they are saying redirect and forward. When we are redirect, remember that you need to use this thing, which is response.send redirect, and then you add not the name of the page, you just add the link in the web.xml here. For example, in the web.xml, do you use home? Do you use login to go to login servlets, or use home to go to home servlets? Okay, this is the structure. Again, you need to have the same structure. Remember, here we have a model. Yeah, that's pretty much everything. I hope that you start early, especially like if you expect that you will have problems, because yeah, like maybe some of you have experienced that before in no sessions. I think they will finish that very quickly. But if you expect that you will have problem, please start as soon as possible. And yeah, I will be there in the lecture. And yeah, see ya.